A plane crashed. 91 people died. Only one survived. Her name is Juliane Koepcke, and this is the story of how she fell from 10,000 feet and walked out of the Amazon alive.
Hello, my name is Juliane Koepcke. Back then, I was just a teenager, excited for Christmas. My mother and I boarded Lanza Flight 508, heading from Lima to Pucallpa, Peru. It was supposed to be a short, peaceful flight, just about an hour. We had argued earlier that morning. Silly things. She didn't want to take this particular airline. She felt something was off, a mother's instinct perhaps. But we had no other choice. It was the only flight we could find before Christmas. We found our seats and settled in. I remember pressing my face against the window, watching the clouds form strange shapes as we soared higher. My mother was next to me, flipping through a magazine. I could hear the hum of the engines, the occasional rattle of turbulence. Then, just 25 minutes into the flight, everything changed. It started with a distant rumble. The cabin lights flickered. People glanced around, unsure. And then, a blinding flash. A lightning bolt hit the plane. There was a sound I can't describe. A crack that felt like the sky itself splitting open. The cabin ripped apart like paper. Wind screamed through the fuselage. Overhead compartments tore open. Luggage hurled across the aisles. People screamed. I remember their faces, frozen in panic. I reached for my mother's hand. And then, I was no longer inside the plane. I was falling, still strapped to my seat, spinning through the air. Trees blurred beneath me. My heart pounded in my ears. Time seemed to stretch, then collapse. Then, darkness. When I woke, I was lying on the rainforest floor. The silence was eerie, broken only by the chirping of insects and the distant call of birds. My collarbone throbbed with pain. It was broken. My right eye was swollen shut. My arm dangled uselessly at my side. But I was breathing, alive. How? How does a teenage girl survive a 2-mile fall into the heart of the Amazon? The rainforest is no friend to humans. It's beautiful, yes, but also brutal. Dense trees blocked the sun, the air thick and wet. It rained constantly. The soil was muddy, slippery. I screamed for my mother, again and again, but there was no reply. Only trees, only the forest. I lay there for hours, maybe a day. I don't know. The pain blurred time. No one came. On the second day, I forced myself to stand. My legs trembled. I had only one sandal left, but I had to move. I remembered what my father once told me. He was a biologist, a man who taught me about nature from a young age. When you're lost, follow water. Streams lead to rivers. Rivers lead to people. That single line saved my life. I followed a tiny stream that trickled through the forest. Every step was agony. My wounds had begun to fester. Flies swarmed me. One laid eggs in a gash on my arm. Days later, I would feel the maggots moving beneath my... Nations. Nights were the worst. Cold soaked into my bones. My thin summer dress offered no protection. I curled under leaves, tried to sleep, but the sounds of the jungle, the howls, the rustling, kept me awake. I was terrified. I drank from the stream. I didn't eat anything. I didn't dare. Everything around me could be poisonous. The days blurred together. I lost count. I began to hallucinate. I saw my mother walking just ahead of me. I called to her. She vanished. On the 9th day, I stumbled across something man-made. A log sawed cleanly. Someone had been here. Hope. I pushed forward with renewed energy. Hours later, I found an abandoned hut. It looked deserted, but inside I found a small container of gasoline. I knew what I had to do. I poured it over my infected wounds. The pain was unbearable. My skin burned, but the maggots dropped out. I stayed in that hut. I waited. On the 11th day, salvation. 3 lumbermen appeared. They froze when they saw me. A girl, alone, wounded, barely able to speak. They fed me, gave me water. They brought me down the river by boat back to civilization. The doctors were stunned. No one could believe it. Juliane Koepcke, the sole survivor of Lanza Flight 508. 91 people died in that crash. I was the only one who lived. They called it a miracle. But to me, it was something else. It was instinct. It was memory. It was resilience. It was my father's voice echoing in my mind. Follow the water. And above all, it was the refusal to give up. My name is Juliane Koepcke. And this is how I survived a fall from 10,000 feet into the heart of the Amazon jungle.